Hi, I'm Trooper Smacka.
Hi, I'm Trooper Wellman,
Please stay tuned for a behind-the-scenes look at being a state trooper.
and together we can make a difference.
Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with another edition of Trooper Talk with Trooper Wellman. Trooper Wellman, so I don't know what you can share, but I went for a drive on Sunday morning, and I got on the town center, and I made a right. And I went all the way around. I went to the lieutenant's grave. I put the patches there. I put the coins there. I proceeded to continue down on the 95. Then I went to the 15. Then I went to the 215, came back up. I had to get off at Flamingo Road. When I got off at Flamingo Road, I went up Flamingo. I made a right on Hualapai. I looked down on the bridge, and I looked to the left, and there was a swarm of cars. And so later on in the day, I saw things from news agencies about what was transpiring on the roadway at 2:37 in the morning on Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so, wrong way driving.
Yes. This one was horrific. It was so sad. We had 3 vehicles involved with a total of 5 individuals, which resulted in 2 losing their lives. We do suspect impairment, but we'll know more as the investigation goes on. But like you said, I'm not 100% on the time, but that sounds about right. At 2:37 a.m., we had the public witnesses call us and say that they observed a passenger car driving wrong way it was driving southbound on the northbound travel lanes on 215 in Charleston. We had troopers en route, and by 2:41, so 4 minutes later, again, don't quote me, but I think it was 4 minutes later, it had already made contact and went head-on with a red pickup truck. The driver of the red pickup truck, a male adult, did lose his life that night, and the driver of the passenger car, it's a white Cadillac, was a female adult, and unfortunately she lost her life as well. The red pickup truck was occupied. It was husband and wife. Wife did survive, but I mean, her life is forever changed now. And then there was another vehicle. Okay, so as the red truck and the Cadillac made contact, the red pickup truck actually started to rotate and go airborne. And as it did so, its back wheels struck a black passenger car that was actually a convertible. So it had a soft top. And I can't show you photos of it because it's part of evidence, but if you saw these vehicles, Neil, it was like Final Destination. I don't know. This black passenger car was occupied by a male and a female as well. And they did sustain some injuries, but they were moderate. Nothing life-threatening that I was aware of. But this truck went airborne, and the back tires went over the back seat of the car, ripping the entire roof off. And I don't know how they did not make contact with those individuals in that car, because if they would have, I mean, I know people don't like this word, but they would have probably been decapitated. It was that horrific. And I don't know how it didn't make contact, but it didn't. And it took the roof off of that car and then came down and came to rest. But it was just a horrific scene. And lives are forever changed because of the actions and the choice that one driver made that night. Maybe we'll have more answers as the case progresses. But ultimately, 2 lives were lost. You know, the person that was driving wrong way and the other individual of the red truck. And it's just devastating, and most likely could have probably been all prevented. So hopefully we get some of those answers as it continues on.
Yeah, the 9th fatality. I think that it said in the newspaper, or not on the online on the local news here in town, right?
I believe it's our 8th fatal, resulting in 9 fatalities.
8th fatal, right? And so So the wife's life is now over, right? Because she'll never get back from whatever they were doing, and you know what I mean, and all that type of stuff. Luckily the people, like you said, in the
Black
convertible, in the you know what I mean, like luckily they abstain. They'll have a story. They'll tell people that they lived. They could have passed away. You know what I mean, like all those type of things. But that whatever.
Yeah.
And we now have another person. Again, maybe impairment. We find out, but the point is that they went wrong way on the road when somebody was just maybe going home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe they were just finished dinner, but maybe they were like.
Sergeant Smacka was on that scene, and as we stood there together, we literally were saying the same thing. Husband and wife, they probably went out that night, maybe had dinner, maybe went to a show, maybe had a date night. And even though it was early hours in the morning, I mean, maybe we'll know more where they were coming from. But at that moment, we were playing a scenario in our mind, and just like, could have been any one of us.
Could have been any one of us.
Yeah.
And so, it's out of control. And these people are losing their lives because of the choice of someone else to get behind the wheel, impaired or not. The point is they got on a road wrong way and they went down the wrong way.
Correct. And I did see on the news last night, I believe it was Channel 8 that aired it, saying that the male adult was actually a former employee with their studio. And it kind of just like, a life is a life. Everybody's life, it matters and is important, and they're loved by someone, or have a friend, a family, blah blah blah. I was thinking that we are all connected and we all know each other in some way, shape, or form. Your friend knows my friend that knows my friend that knows me. Like, we're all connected in some way, shape, or form. And this news station having a direct connection to this individual, this victim that was, taken too soon by a wrong way driver. Maybe they can help us get this message out there even more, to see how big of a danger and a threat it is to have individuals on our highways going the wrong way. And we have to figure something out to stop it, whether that be putting up mechanical barriers that we have access to put them up, put them down, spikes. You and I talk about how they installed the red display wrong way boards. Like, we all have to keep thinking of new ideas to stop this. But ultimately, it comes down to, and I say it every time, but personal responsibility and accountability.
Yeah.
It's a choice, and if you decide to get behind that wheel of a motor vehicle and you are impaired, it's going to have fatal consequences, and this is an example of it. And I don't know if the driver's impaired or not. I'm just saying this is what could result if you get behind the wheel, and it's just it's devastating.
Right. In a generalized topic of conversation, it's devastating.
Devastating.
These people, it's too much already. You know what I'm saying? It's too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All these families now are forever affected.
Forever affected.
Yeah. And the ripple effect, prime example, is that news station is affected. All of those people knew that individual and now are like, oh my goodness, now are hurting, grieving, mourning the loss of their friend, coworker, and it's devastating.
Yeah, and that's why we need to do everything we can to stop these people from driving the wrong way. You know what I mean?
And one last thing, if I could, just thank you to the motoring public who called in the wrong way vehicle. Obviously we were en route, I don't know if we could have made a difference or not, but again, we can't be everywhere at all times, and we're just so grateful when the public does call 911 and lets us know if they see something that's a danger, because every moment counts. Us getting that call maybe made the difference of getting there quicker. Medical means getting there quicker and saving the lives of the other three versus, we could have had more than 2 fatalities that night. You just never know. So thank you to the motoring public who called that in. Like, it's greatly appreciated.
Yeah. And that brings me to the second part of what I wanted to talk to you about, which was, so in my drive, I saw someone on a bicycle on the freeway, riding the opposite direction from the traffic
On the freeway?
on the freeway. Now, here's the problem. So I'm driving 75 miles an hour in my car, right? And I see this person on the right-hand shoulder on a bicycle, pedaling, right? And you're like, this isn't really happening, right? And I'm going 75 miles an hour. Now, it was up towards that Sky Point, the 215 where they have I told you the big bump in the road, right? Where they have the two bumps, right? And so, which is very scary in itself because you hit one of those bumps. One is on an angle, and it's very scary.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is a person supposed to do? And so this is where I wanted to talk to you about it, because my problem is now that I don't have my like some people have their phones like accessible, that they can just call Fred, you know what I mean? And so it's very difficult because not only I'm going the speed and I'm focused on the road and I'm watching the bumps and I'm watching the cars and I'm doing all this, but now I have to pick up the phone, dial, and then I have to remember where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't call.
Oh.
And so, not that I felt guilty, but I sort of did feel a little bit guilty. Because, and the problem was that when I got to the lieutenant's grave, which was, 15 minutes further down the road, it's too late already. Maybe the guy got off. I mean, who knows what's going on? And so, anyway, my point that I'm asking about that is we thank the motoring public for doing that because it's not easy.
Right.
When you're traveling and you see something, you really got to. So, like I said, I sort of felt guilty, but next time I almost want to pull over.
That's what I was going to suggest you. If you can safely pull over, do so. Don't put yourself at risk or danger because of the choice somebody else made. But if you can pull over and call us, it's greatly appreciated, but never put yourself in danger.
Yeah, it was just very scary, you know what I mean? Like, just one of the things that I went through on my drive this on the Sunday, you know what I'm saying? But the bigger thing was the fact of, this wrong way driving.
So random,
which
though.
is just, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so now we'll see that NDOT thing. Let's see what we got. Yeah, so this is it, and so we talked about this in the beginning, but so this is at 3:43. I think the news organization said it was like 2 through 37.
Correct.
Or
this is when
like
I tweeted it out because
Yeah.
I had just gotten on scene, but it happened an hour prior to that.
Yeah, it says PIO is en route. I was going to text you and be like, you have to get up and do this, and it's like, and
Yes,
again,
that was-
that's part of the job,
Yep.
for you, but. Again, you have to get up. You have to leave your loved ones. You're rushing. To get somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they had all the exits blocked off. And on the to get off on the Flamingo, they didn't even have state troopers. They had the construction workers.
Oh, that's Department of so NDOT.
Right.
Department of
Okay. Yeah. And so they had and to make sure they it was very good. They had all the cones set
Yep,
up.
and the crash
And
track,
the
yeah.
guys were over there just telling people, just veer to the right. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Whenever we can get assistance from them, we utilize it. Plus, depending on what part of town we're in, if that's city or if it's county, we have them help us set up traffic control because our cones. I mean, you saw firsthand how many cones they're able to put up, the barriers. They bring the crash truck,
Yeah.
everything, so that way they can prevent any crashes from occurring.
Yeah, and so that's what they had, and then to get onto the Flamingo, on Flamingo Road to get onto the 215, they had one trooper, parked
Yes.
there with just the cones. You know what I mean? Just to tell people, like, obviously you can't get on the road. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And you're waiting for some idiot to just go around him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sure that happens too.
Yeah.
Okay. 382 people lost their lives on Nevada roadways last year.
That was our final number. We were down 1% from 2021. But, I mean, I don't think that's a victory. 382 lives were lost.
No.
That's more than a life a day. if you really think about it. And that's when you're just like, wow, a person died every single day.
Hey. Right. And you know, the thing is that we always talk about life is precious, life is short, life is this, you know what I mean, and all these type of things. And then all of a sudden we do these crazy things. We get in the car with someone as a passenger who's, you know, messed up. You know what I'm saying? And we're not conscious of that, or we put ourselves into a position where we make a choice to get behind the wheel of something like this. And, you know, there's a small percentage, I'm sure, of the medical episode. You know, unfortunately, you know, we're all human. We all pass away, and so, you know, something somebody happens, right? Where it's like that. And one of the other things that we don't talk too much about, but, you know, is traffic, right? You know, you always have someone trying to get from someplace, you know, faster than they can. And so they're cutting in and out of traffic, or they're doing these type of things. And, you know, there's all these type of things which I'm sure relate into traffic fatalities in a smaller number than the other things which are impairment and speed and seat belts and things of that nature. And it's all life, right?
Absolutely. And you're 100% correct. There are always contributing factors of why this crash occurred and why life was lost. But ultimately, the reality is our top two leading causes is speed and impairment. And I believe over 70 lives of the 382 were lost from they weren't wearing seatbelts. So that's a possibility of 70 plus people that could still be here if they just were to wear their seatbelt. When you really start breaking it down, I mean, slow down, put your seatbelt on, don't drive impaired. I mean, yes, those other crashes or situations could have different contributing factors, but that number could be a lot smaller if people would just slow down, don't drive distracted, you know, don't drive impaired, put your seatbelt on, just the constant things that we always talk about, you know.
Yeah.
Leave your house a little bit earlier so you're not rushing. I mean,
all these things make a difference. And if one person does one thing and another person does another, then maybe we could stop having all these people losing of all these lives.
Exactly.
Because this is 382 people who are never coming home. You know what I mean? Oh, there's our friends. Sergeant Campbell. So
Jesus.
we show these pictures not we show it in a funny way, right?
Yeah.
But we show it also in a serious way to say that these guys are there. And so, you know, when you're coming down the road and you see a stop sign, you know, there may be a guy behind it.
Yeah.
And so the reason for that is because they want to stop the speeding. And so part of the joining forces, as well as when we've had Sergeant Campbell come on, you know, his big thing is the speeding in the school zones.
Yeah,
And so that makes his blood boil.
absolutely. It's our children, right?
know?
That's our future. And there's no excuse to ever speed through these school zones. And I think, you know, Clark County School District Police Department for constantly enforcing you know, speeding, and they don't take it lightly. They have like a zero tolerance for it. And I love when our agency partners up with them and they do the joining forces, Nevada State Police, Henderson, Metro, they all come together in numbers, and the more numbers you have, the more of an impact you're going to have. So it really does save lives. They're educating the motoring public, and all their enforcement that they're doing is greatly appreciated.
And each different agency does their own part.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Nevada State Police, you know, can go the whole entire state wide, but each one of the agencies works together to be able to do something together so that we can make the community a better place.
Yeah, it's the ultimate goal.
Right. It's not just like, you know, everybody does their own separate things.
Yeah, sometimes we do, but for the most part, they work together as a team with one goal in mind, and that's to save lives and slow people down, or, you know, they'll work a specific enforcement that day, and it always, I mean, they accomplish it because of the numbers and them working together as a team.
Yeah, and they're, you know, when they come and they talk and they're friendly and they go to the schools and they talk to the kids there, you know, like, and so it's very important because we're here to educate and explain, because we want people to know what they're doing when they get behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Or on the handlebar or whatever for the motorcycle, but it's the same basic premise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. The officer made a vehicle stop, and it was immediately apparent that the driver was intoxicated. At night, driving on the road.
I want that might be Boulder City. I'm not sure. That's not our department though, but you know, the second we walk up to that vehicle, we can smell if you've been drinking. We are trained to be able to observe and pick up on signs of intoxication or impairment, whether it be your bloodshot, watery eyes, or your slurred speech, or dividing your attention. You know, there's a reason we say, "Can I have your?" or "Can you provide me with your license, insurance, and registration?" We give you multiple tasks at one time to see if you can divide your attention and retain it, because studies have shown that people that are impaired can't or struggle with doing simple tasks of those matters. Then once we determine that maybe something else is going on and we ask you to exit your vehicle so we can administer the standard field sobriety test, again, those tests are meant for you to pass. They're not meant for you to fail. We don't want you to fail. We want you to succeed. And if you have failing results or, you know, unsatisfactory results on those tests, there's a reason. It's probably because you're impaired or under the influence of something. And, you know, we do hours and weeks of training to make sure that we're subject matter experts in that line of work. So if we stop your vehicle and we walk up on the car, and if you are impaired, just already know we know.
Yeah, you know, and that's what's, you know what I mean? Like, there's no getting around it. The other thing that I noticed when I was watching the program for the law enforcement live thing, right? It was very interesting. So the guy pulled the lady over, and she just cracked open her beer, right? Like, but he brought up a very good point, and here's what I want to talk to you about. She had a concealed weapons permit, and when he pulled up, when he walked up to the vehicle and he said, you know, license, registration, and all that, and then he started talking to her. Then after he noticed that she had a beer, right? Then she proceeded to say to him, "Oh, and by the way," after talking to him for 5 minutes, "Oh, I have a firearm in the car." And he said, "Please step out of the car." He took her out of the car. It was all legal. You know what I mean? He looked at it, ran the serial numbers and the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So if you take a concealed weapons class, a CCW class, to get your CCW, one of the things they do teach you in that class is to notify the officer immediately, or at least, you know, in the beginning of the stop, that you do have a firearm in the vehicle, and like where's it located, and obviously don't reach for it. You do not have to notify us, but it is greatly appreciated. When I walk up to a car, we all have our own standard, I call it a song. We all have our own song and the routine, what we say, and part of mine is like, you know, hello, I introduce myself, I tell them the reason for the stop, I ask them where they're headed to, where they're coming from. Maybe if the stop was for speed, then I'll say, why are you traveling so fast, blah, blah, blah. And then right after that, I ask for license, insurance, registration, but before they reach for it, I always say, do you have any weapons, alcohol, or drugs in the vehicle I need to know about? And I say that from the beginning, because then I go, okay, do you have your license, insurance, registration? So that way if they're reaching for things, and they could lie to me, I mean, people lie all the time, and I'm gonna take their word for somewhat of a value, but ultimately I'm always gonna be on guard that maybe they have a weapon or drugs or alcohol in the vehicle, and my eyes are always wandering, right? So we all have our own spiel, and I say it from the drop, like from the very beginning. Any weapons, alcohol, drugs in the vehicle I should know about, and it's up to them to then tell me if they do or they don't. And with this situation, or the example you're giving, it was nice that she told him, but if he didn't ask, that's kind of on him.
So that brings me to the fact that when you are in a traffic stop, that we have to rely on the motoring public to be as honest as we can.
Yeah.
And so that makes your job even that much more scarier. And so that's why when we get pulled over, we are to put the hands right on the steering wheel, right?
Don't reach around in your vehicle. You don't need to grab your license, your registration, your insurance at that time. Wait for us to come up to the vehicle. If you can, roll down your windows or turn on maybe a light in the car. Other than that, just keep your hands on the wheel, and then we'll get up there and talk to you and tell you what we want, because you don't even know what side I'm approaching on, if I'm coming on driver, passenger. So just be patient. I'll be right there, and then I'll tell you what I need. And hey, maybe I'm gonna come up and be like, hey, your gas cap's open or something. I'm going to close it for you. Have a good day.
Right.
And if you're like reaching around and stuff, you just never know. You never know the reason for your stop. Let me talk to you. Let me make contact with you. And then we'll go from there.
And follow your direction.
Yeah. And also, I don't know 100%, but maybe there's different laws in different states if you are supposed to notify immediately with CCW.
100%.
But I can tell you that for Nevada, no. It's not required.
It's not required.
It's
but
preferred.
please do it.
Please do it. Yes, it is very preferred, but
If you see Trooper Wellman, or any of the troopers, just be like, yeah, I got one in the car. You know
yeah,
what I'm
it's greatly appreciated.
saying? Right. Joining forces. 5 items to look for: DUI, speed, seatbelt, cell phone, and pedestrian safety. So the joining forces, they're out there patrolling the streets.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there patrolling the highways. They're out there patrolling everything. And they have specific areas or specific things that they're doing. And so, the thing is that, again, we look at the fact of all the agencies doing things together. Maybe not every single time, but, it's important that they work together and that they're there for each other. And so that's one of the things that I always love about the joining forces is the togetherness.
Yeah, and for those that don't know what Joining Forces is, it's a grant-funded operation funded by Zero Fatalities, or Office of Traffic Safety, which is under the Department of Public Safety, so our agency. And they fund these, they give them grant money for all the departments to go out there and be proactive and enforce a specific violation that day. Not to say that they're not going to educate the motoring public on all traffic violations and safety, but they're looking for specific something. So, for example, if that day they're looking for cell phone violations, they're all out there, and it's pretty much a zero tolerance that day for cell phone violations. If you're on it, if you're not paying full attention, and you're texting, talking, you're most likely going to get a ticket. What makes Joining Forces so unique is that it's a statewide initiative, first of all, and our departments come together as one, like you said, and that's what's really, really cool about it. So for our Southern Command, you'll have all the surrounding agencies partaking in that one enforcement for that day. But it is a statewide initiative, so it's really, really cool.
Yeah, and these are very important things that are very prevalent in today's world to save people's lives.
Yes.
The DUI, the speed, the seatbelt we always talk about, the cell phone, pedestrian safety, we don't talk about all the time, but we talk about people in the school zones and in the crosswalks, and how you have to pay attention, and it's not just on the automobile or the motorcycle in the traveling. You have to, pedestrian safety is there too for yourself too. You have to be conscious. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Great point. Yeah, these are all some of the top reasons why we see fatalities in our state, and that's why we're out there enforcing it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, all right, so we've talked about this before. So if you are impaired and you are found to be of impairment, right, then you get a very nice set of bracelets.
Mm-hmm.
You get to sit in a very uncomfortable back seat of a car. You then get to go into a cell or room or whatever it is with other people that may be impaired, which doesn't sound very fun.
It's not.
and then you're there for 12 hours,
Minimum.
right? And so after you get out and you maybe want to have a cheeseburger or something, I guess, or, because your mind is just so spun from what it is that you've just seen and witnessed, then you have the harsh reality of, oh, by the way, I told that trooper, go pound sand. I'm not giving you my breathalyzer or my blood test, right? And so they go, oh, okay, no problem. 1 year suspension. Oh, you have a DUI now? Okay, 90-day suspension. Like all these things. And then you have the cost, an attorney, this, that. You're all done.
And that's if you didn't take the life of someone else.
And that's if
right?
you didn't take the life
That's
of
if you
someone.
got lucky that night.
Right. And you just hit a pole and you know what I mean? You ruined your car.
Or you just got stopped and you got caught.
Right.
But you're looking at minimum $10,000 worth of fines and court fees and community service and a lot of headache
and the panel, right? They have to go to that panel where they go to coroner.
Yep, they go to the impact panel if they're lucky and the judge assigns that, because that'll start to bring their fine down, or maybe not as many points on their license, and there's different incentives they offer to try to bring it down. But the impact panel is very powerful. It's where you actually listen to family members that are victims of impaired drivers, that have lost loved ones to impaired drivers, and they want you to see the reality of how lucky you just got by not killing someone that night or that day. And I wish I had our stats for 2022. But wow, just even 2018 was 133. That's crazy.
Dead, right? So living, dead, right? And so I don't think people take into account that.
Can't go back.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't go, oh, give me, rewind 5 minutes or something. You know what I mean? Like, and so, like you said, that's not taking into account, or, the fact that if you killed someone, that you may have gotten off in a positive way by just paying money and doing all this psychological stuff.
I had when I was in high school, there was a group of kids that were in a car, and they had gotten impaired, underage, but they were impaired. And the driver crashed into a wall, lost control of the vehicle, and everyone in the vehicle did die except the driver, and all just young men. We were all in high school. I think they were probably 16, 17. And the driver, he actually would go around while he was still incarcerated, and he'd go around and speak to other young adults to educate them on what happened, and so that they wouldn't do what he did. And I remember, I'll never forget it, he said something that was just so sad to me, but like, wow, is he would call his friends' phones constantly just to hear their voice, because he couldn't believe that they were gone. And it wasn't even that, like, it was because of him. It was just he could not grasp that they were no longer here. And I think a lot of us deal with that with death when we're grieving and when we lose someone. It's just the reality of, I'm never going to talk to them again. I'm never going to see them again. And he used to call their cell phones just to hear their voice on their voicemail. And that always stuck with me. And it's like, these people got lucky because you can't turn back time. Once it's done, right?
Yeah, and that's what we have. That's what we keep hammering out to people. You know what I mean? Don't put yourself in a position, you know what I mean, to, for any of the troopers or anybody, to pull their firearms or do anything bad like that. You know what I mean? And the same thing with this. Don't put yourself in a position where you have to make a choice, and, it's not going to be a good one. And so it just bothers me so much, these people that just keep dying.
See, there's the sign.
Oh, yeah, here it is, right here.
Yep.
So this was the news thing said it was NDOT was doing some new wrong way traffic systems that they were trying to test or do or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be fantastic.
I mean, whatever they can do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, somebody has to do something.
I feel, and I know I'm not supposed to have an opinion, but I'm almost positive. I'd really have to pull the stats, but I'm almost positive that at least once every single night we get a report of a wrong way driver. Doesn't mean that we find the vehicle, doesn't mean that they crashed, doesn't mean, But we always get reports. I feel like confidently I could say once every single night here in just Las Vegas area that we get a call of a reported wrong way driver. And that could be someone you and I have talked about. Maybe they're not from here and they just didn't know the freeways and they got on wrong way. Or it's someone impaired, or who knows. But we get at least one call every single night. And imagine if every single one of those crashed. We would pretty much have a fatality every single night, which would be insane. But these signs are placed on our freeway entrances. If you go on wrong way, you have these bright red signs that say wrong way on them. And yet people still get on them wrong way. So again, I hope that we can come up with a solution to help prevent some of this, because it definitely will save lives.
Yeah, it's horrible. And then the little, what are those things called? Those reflectors,
Oh yes.
right? So those go red.
Yeah. So the roadway little plaque. What are those called?
Reflector things or something, whatever those things are. The
think what they're
orange
called.
things that are orange or something.
I cannot think of what it's called right now. But yes, they're little reflectors that divide our travel lanes. And when you are going wrong way, they're actually a different color to catch your attention, so that way you know you're going wrong way.
Yeah, and so, we keep putting all these things in place and all these things in place and all these things, and we're going to keep doing more. We keep telling the trooper talk, you know what I mean? Stop doing the wrong way driving. But they just keep doing it. And so, whatever we can do to help, you know what I'm saying? To tell these people to stop doing it and maybe get the, NDOT in there to, start doing, again, if it was so simple to say, go do this, and it would stop them 90%, then I think it would be simple. But I don't think. I think that it's a conscious decision of, well, if you do it this way, well then, what about when the troopers have to go around to get onto the wrong way because there's a problem and the spike strips are out, and then what are you going to do? Start popping all their tires? There's all these type of conversations that will end at something that's positive. And so, our hope is that maybe with new legislative sessions and other people that weren't in the office, maybe they're taking a different look at things. We got to talk to Andrew.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, the thing is that I'm sure they have meetings all day long about this type of stuff. It's not just willy-nilly. And so, we just want to say that we support them as much as we possibly can to try to help, to try to fix this problem. Right?
Yeah, if it was as simple as telling people, hey, don't drive wrong way, don't drive impaired, and this problem would be resolved, that'd be great. We've been doing that forever now, but clearly there's individuals that have shown us that that's not enough. So we need to take action, and we have been over the years by putting up signs and reflectors and just, anything and everything we can think of. But I'm hoping that something is coming in the future that's going to help with that.
Yeah, me too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We deserve it. You know what I'm saying? So, I think that it's very important. So the other thing that I wanted to quickly talk about is this. So right now it's been cold in Las Vegas. And so people's tires are cold and they don't act the same way as when it gets warm. And so this coming week, it's supposed to be 65, and it's supposed to start turning a little bit warmer. And so just because it's getting warmer at 65 doesn't mean that you could drive down the road at 130 in your car.
Yeah, and I'll just reiterate it again. Our top two leading causes for our fatalities for 2022 and the year prior than that was speed and impairment. So something as simple as slowing down really could be the difference of your life.
Yeah.
And it's very simple.
Very, very simple. And the other thing, too, is we have to tell everybody they have to join Nevada State Police, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? When the lieutenant was here, he was off to the side. He didn't want to come on the camera, but we'll get him on there. We got him to talk a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got him on the sofa. He just wasn't on the camera. You know what I'm saying? We'll get him on there though. But the thing is that when we were here with the Trooper McClarty, right? And we kept talking about it. And so it's very important, you know what I mean, that if you have passion and this is something that you want to do, that there's so many different things that you can go throughout the agency, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have multiple divisions that are available that you can constantly transfer back and forth throughout your career, which is nice because then you don't get burnt out and it's constantly changing it up. You get a take-home car, which is a huge incentive. We work 4 10s. That means we work 4 days a week, 10-hour shifts. So you get 3 days off, which is super, super nice. You have your pension, so you'll have your retirement. You have benefits for you and your family. One of the best things about Nevada State Police compared to other agencies is you can transfer statewide. So if you want to go work in a rural area like Elko or Wells or Alamo, you can just transfer. It's tons of freedom. Or if let's say you went to college at UNR and you live in Vegas but you loved it up there, why not go work up there? You can transfer up to Reno and you can go now be Nevada State Police, be a state trooper up in Reno because you know the area. And then let's say you didn't like it and you wanted to come back down to Vegas. You have the flexibility. It's just so great to constantly move around if you want to. You don't have to. But if you want to, it's just nice, especially like if you have your family and stuff spread around Nevada. But if you have an interest or if you have any questions, you can go on nevadastatepolice.com and you can speak to a live recruiter right there. As well as I highly encourage you to come do a ride-along with us and see what it's really about. You can do a ride-along with Highway Patrol. You can do a sit-along with our dispatchers because they're hiring as well. You could ride with parole and probation and see what it's like to, oversee these individuals that are trying to rehabilitate back into society. You can go check out Capitol Police, check out our interdiction team with our K9 units. It goes on and on and on. And if you've ever had an interest in serving and protecting your community, then we want you. And I highly encourage you to come do a ride-along. NevadaStatePolice.com.
Yeah, and the captain, right? He was from the north, and then he transferred down here.
Captain Bowers.
Right, and then he went back up there.
Yeah.
Right, and so it just shows that you can do that type of stuff.
Yeah, sometimes people like change. And sometimes when you work in a certain area for so long, you get kind of, for lack of better words, bored. Or you're like, I need to change. I need to be excited to go to work again. I need something new, right? And what's cool about this career and exciting is that every single day is something new. You interact with new people every single day. You may be responding to a property damage crash call, but it's still new individuals. It's still new scenery. It's still all new. And that's what I love about it is that it's not the same thing every single day. And then for those that want to really change it up, you can transfer. You can transfer divisions. You can actually move to other parts of the state. Like, it's just endless. It's great.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so wonderful is that, we're always keeping our mind fresh and doing new things. And, and that's one of the things that the Nevada State Police can do, by becoming a member and, going through the recruiting and, all that type of fun stuff and everything like that.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Trooper Woman, thanks. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to come and see us.
Thank you for having me.
We want to be safe this week and not on the Sunday have any type of activities like we had last Sunday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we just hope that they get better. You know what I'm saying? But thanks a lot for coming in and sharing the time, okay?
Yes, thank you for having me.
Great. All right.